Thank you, Dr. Ruchi. Thank you, everyone. Super excited to have you all with us. We have an amazing panelist. So my name is Shin. I'm a co-founding partner at Shorooq Partners, a leading early stage tech-focused VC who focus on Middle East, North Africa, and Pakistan. And we'd like to have a quick intros of our amazing panelists, starting with Sky Kurtz at Pure Harvest.
Hello, Shane. Pleased to be here. I'm Sky Kurtz. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pure Harvest Smart Farms. At Pure Harvest, we design, build, and operate very high-tech, climate-controlled growing systems to let us localize food production anywhere, even in some of the harshest environments of the world. So we're a technology-enabled agribusiness. And we've started our operations in the UAE. We're expanding into Saudi and Kuwait. And now we're beginning to export that solution into Asian markets, because fundamentally we've decoupled the relationship of food production from climate and instead married it to energy and capital sources. And we're now doing that at scale. So very pleased to be here and to talk about this important topic.
Simon?
Great, thanks, Shane. So I'm Simon Bryant. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Red Sea Farms. Similarly, we're a agri-tech focused business born in Saudi, founded on a number of scientific innovations around plant science, materials science, and agricultural engineering, which is really focused on breaking the reliance of agriculture in harsh climates on fresh water and energy. We create saltwater and sunlight-driven agricultural systems which grow fresh produce in the desert. Founded in Saudi, the innovations are developed in Saudi Arabia for this region, and they're now being exported across the GCC and into the desert climates of North America as well.
Thank you, Simon. Ahmed?
Thanks, Shane. My name is Ahmad Alanani. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sancta Capital. We're an alternative investment management firm that's focused exclusively on Middle East, North Africa. We invest across the corporate balance sheet. We do everything from listed equities, high yield bonds. We buy bank debt in the secondary, and we lend directly to companies. And we're both a shareholder and a creditor to Pure Harvest.
Thank you, Ahmed. Lastly but not least, Ashraf.
Hey, thank you, Shane. My name is Ashraf Khatib. I'm working for Ekuity Holding. Ekuity Holding has been recently established to be relatively recently established 10 years ago, to be the investment arm of KIE, the Kuwaiti Sovereign Fund in Egypt. So Kuwaiti Sovereign Fund, or KIE, has legacy investments in Egypt since the 60s, and we are investing across industries, and we are investing directly and indirectly in private equity and in venture capital as well.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. We actually have a very good mix of entrepreneurs and the investors, so I'm quite confident it will have a variety of insights and perspective we can share. So starting with the entrepreneurs, Sky and Simon, I'm sure the audience and would love to learn about what has motivated you to leave your, let's say, sexy, well-paying jobs to really embark on this really difficult entrepreneur journey, particularly in food and water in the Middle East, right? If you can just give us quick background, what is your vision? What is your mission you're building on a daily basis? It would be very helpful.
Shane, I'll go first. I'm originally from the United States. I actually worked as a technology investor for many years out of Silicon Valley, investing in a number of sectors, but I first found a passion for food. I saw technology's role in solving this great challenge, that's now commonly cited about by 2050, we need 9.5 billion people to feed, and we need 70% more food. But with declining water and land resources, we need to do so through productivity measures and admittedly solving demand side problems, right? So I actually had a macro view of how I got into food. And I think you're aware, but I started another ag tech company before this one. So I've been focusing on ag tech ever since I became an entrepreneur. Now, separately, how I got here was actually a bit of an accident. We were thinking of where to start this venture, and we're seeking an extreme environment, right? One that was hot and humid and import dependent, and was looking around the world, and there are many laboratories to do that. But this one, I actually had come to Dubai and experienced shopping here. And I saw the problem firsthand that Iran tomato, Mexico avocado, it's a very interesting and unusual fresh produce environment. and just saw and experienced firsthand the problem, right? Limited quality, limited availability, high cost. And then it became very, clear to me this need. So you asked about the mission. It's, our mission is to use technology to democratize access to high quality, affordable fresh produce anywhere, including the harsh environments of the desert, and now in markets that are hot and humid in Asia. So really it was the marriage of all these things. And then the final thing is my actual marriage. I met my wife, Kinsey, who here in Dubai. That kind of made me set roots and helped me to stick around. So it was both a personal and professional aspiration.
Amazing. Simon, how about you?
Yes, so I have a finance background, but I was actually visiting the King Abdullah University of Science and Technology in the west coast of Saudi Arabia, which is actually now the #1 research university in the world, where I met some amazing scientists who'd spent the last 10 years there working on solutions to the big problems that they have in Saudi Arabia and this region: lack of fresh water, excess humidity, excess heat. And I met this combination of different scientists who come up with solutions to these, and actually convinced me that we have incredible growing conditions for fresh food here, as in 3,500 sun hours a year-round consistent temperature. And if you can solve those issues around excess heat and lack of fresh water, you actually have amazing conditions. And what really inspired me to join it all together and get going was that although these were academics with incredible scientific backgrounds, they also actually, the key for sustainability here is not just environmental sustainability. This has to be economically sustainable. We can't just invent solutions for the sake of solutions. We have to find a way of making sure that this business makes money and sustains itself, and this technology works for farmers internationally. So actually, I sat down and put all the numbers together, and that's really what got me excited, because I could see that there was a return on this, which meant it could grow. Big savings on OPEX if you take away the reliance on energy and fresh water, but actually being able to hedge that by focusing on free resources, or effectively free resources like sunlight and salt water, really makes the returns over a long period. Because Sky, you will know this really well, when we're building closed environment agriculture systems, we're looking at a 25-year time horizon for these. And really we want to reduce risk as much as possible. So actually putting all these together from amazing scientific, passionate inventions, and then looking at the financial returns, for me it was a no-brainer.
Amazing. Speaking of financial returns, obviously entrepreneurs, by the nature, they should be very confident, right? Otherwise, there are many other things we can do. But I'm curious also to hear my fellow investors' view on why are we investing, if we are investing in this food and water, or in this food security concept led by Pure Harvest and the Red Sea Farms. Ahmed and Ashraf?
Yeah, sure. I'll have a first crack. I think what as I mentioned, we're a shareholder and accredited to Pure Harvest, and it's not really kind of our typical investment as a strategy. We tend to focus on what we call special situations, but that was exactly what attracted us to this company. We found here a company that was really solving real problems on the ground, a company that found a way to optimize the abundant sunlight, the vast land, the electricity, the labor, CO2 to produce, high quality produce that was competing with what's being imported from industrial greenhouses in Europe and elsewhere, and had, as a result, produced some incredible unit economics, but wasn't really understood by the traditional kind of conventional investors in the region. So it was a great business that needed capital, and that created a very investable opportunity for us. And that's kind of what brought us together with Sky and the team.
Mm-hmm. Ashraf, how do you think about this?
Yeah, thank you, Shane. I will focus my views on investing in Egypt in food or sustainable food. And Egypt is well known for agriculture. It's blessed by good land, fertile land, good weather, and at the same time access to relatively a low cost of labor and abundant labor as well. So Egypt is well known of exporting strawberry, potato, orange, is one of the top exporters in the world in a number of crops. Yet, there's a lot of challenges, as my peers already mentioned. Access to water. Egypt now is below the poverty line in terms of water, and sustainability, and of course, populous country, 100 million people, high growth rate in terms of population growth, more than 2%. So a business case and the investment case for sustainable food is there. And I will show you some examples. For example, in sugar, Egypt is importing around 1 million ton of sugar, and the crop mix of sugar is deeply focused on sugarcane, which is high water intensive. So recently, a very big integrated complex of sugar has been started to cultivate and to plant, cultivate, and produce 1 million ton of sugar based on sugar beet, not sugar cane. So it is much more water conservative product. Another example in rice. So in rice, it's again a high water intensive product. In Egypt, we banned exporting rice and developing rice derivative industry. So now we can have a plant-based protein, for example, which is a good source for meat and dairy industries and in line with the global trends of sustainable food. Another example for strawberry. We used to be one of the largest countries to export frozen strawberry. Now we are the largest one in exporting frozen strawberry, which again, high value added, higher margin. So a lot of business cases has been already built and a lot of opportunities in different spaces. And if I can reflect on what Sky said, now we have maybe an agribusiness, agri-tech startup, which is trying to connect more than 7 million farmers to scalable business. In Egypt, the arable land is largely fragmented. So if you can connect such farmers to scalable business, you can have another business opportunity. So opportunities are in partnership with government are there, for private sector is there, and for venture capital as well is there.
Shane, if I can for one moment put my old investor hat on, but what made me excited about throwing my life into this, and also I would say giving a credit to my investor and colleague Ahmad, this really was a special situation in that they saw this early. But investors often make money when countries, industries, or something are in transition, when change occurs. And what's exciting, I think, about sustainable agriculture in any form, whether it's in fields or in a vertical farm in Manhattan, is that you have the confluence of several trends. You have climate change. Entire funds are being created around targeting climate change and its impact on an industry. And that's causing change in weather and in water availability, et cetera, right? So, and in trade flows. You then have technological disruption, sensors falling in cost, LEDs falling in cost, just IoT broadly becoming massive or broadly available to tackle industrial automation and other solutions that disrupt and change the processes of agribusiness. You then have also, you have governments getting involved, food security, water conservation, economic diversification, and sustainability being core narratives of most nation states in the world. Look at COP26 right now, it's a top topic, right? And with energy transition underway, et cetera, et cetera. But last but not least, you have a change in consumers. Consumers are changing, like wealth and populations are growing in nations like China, changing the diet as people get more wealth. They change what they eat. So the calorie pyramid is shifting. And as it's shifting, you have that happening at the same time with the first piece of the loop, with what is available and being produced and in what efficiency. So the needs of the world are changing, technology is changing, governments are changing their mandates and their focus and what they're protecting versus targeting. And of course, you have the world's weather changing, right? The combination of this is a lot of change and a lot of need, right? The demand is there with global population growth. So I can't think of a better investment theme, right? Energy, healthcare, and feeding people. Pretty fundamental, acyclical, right? It's core. And so I think it's a great opportunity, and that's why investors are keen.
Love it.
Perhaps, Sky, if you don't mind, I'd just add on to Sky's point there as well, that another sort of trend that we've seen is really the environment around promoting entrepreneurship in the region, and also innovation in the region. I think maybe a number of years ago, it was more about importing in solutions, and actually the environment now is very supportive of coming up with your own innovations and actually taking those to market as well. And the conditions we have here are very, very harsh environments, and actually the creation of the solutions to make agriculture work year round, it's important that they're generated from the region, for the region, and then sort of exporting out, because exactly as Sky said, regions around the world are kind of catching up to how harsh the environments are here.
No, absolutely, and I actually wanted to double down, and because all of us, I mean, we do live and invest in the region, so perhaps it might be obvious for us, but not the audience is from a global scene. So perhaps Ahmed, Ashraf, what else as an investor do we find that particularly interesting in the region? Like Sky and Simon just mentioned, it is the right time, and we feel that we live and breathe by our ecosystems maturing on a daily basis. What else can we highlight to the audience here? Why particularly the food and the water, the food sustainability or food security, particularly in the Middle East, we find it very interesting. All right.
Yes, sure. I'll have a go again first. All the factors that Simon and Sky brought up around, enhancing the region's food security, building the ecosystem, supportive government. These are all kind of tailwinds behind making the investment thesis more attractive. But I think, from my perspective, it really, being on the ground, it's kind of, you gravitate towards those businesses that are solving for real problems that, you encounter on a day-to-day basis. And when you find those businesses and you find management teams have big, huge vested interests in the business, you have, examine the unit economics, and you see that the unit economics stack up against, what's being imported. And then suddenly, the qualitative elements of your thesis start making financial sense. It's really hard to beat, and it's not just, I don't think it's exclusive to ag tech, but in the region, because of all the factors that we've described here about the harsh environment, the supply chain issues that we have that were amplified during the pandemic, it just ticks so many boxes to be looking at, sustainable food and ag tech in the region.
Amazing.
Yeah, if I may add to that. So it's Shane, it's about the opportunity. It's by design. We are living in not in the developed world. So we already have big problems in transportation, in public transportation. So for example, the largest market for Uber is Egypt. And this can justify why Uber acquired Careem later on. 2 years ago, we had just one unicorn from the region as a startup, which was Careem. Last year or a few months ago, we have Swivel. By the way, we are indirect investors in Swivel through our venture capital investment. And it is expected to have maybe from 3 to 5 candidates to be unicorns. Maybe 2 or 3 of them are focused on food, whether it's supply chain or whether it's other areas. So logistics, whatever, you have really big problems, and the need for consolidation backed by the technological changes already are there. Just need some money to be poured and back these talented entrepreneurs, and you will see great results. And we started to see that already.
Yeah. As a VC myself, one key trend, which is really core to all of us, is we like to touch or build and or invest in the more of the fundamental infrastructure related issues. Right? I think a few years ago, a lot of the investments were going more on the so-called, let's say, B2C, more on the high level. But now our ecosystem is maturing so fast, we're getting deeper and deeper into the fundamentals. And what else can be more fundamental than food security or food, especially in the Middle East, where we're so dependent on importing fresh produce. We're so dependent on all this, let's say, international markets. So like it is quite fascinating, right? And I see that we're starting to have more of a questions. But coming back to just one of the last questions for the whole panel, how do we see this industry evolving? Like today versus a year and a half ago before the COVID, and also 3 years ago when the Red Sea Farms and Pure Harvest were founded, before Sancta and the Shorooq, we invested in Pure Harvest. Like so many things are changing or have changed. Like how do we see that this future of this food and water industry, right? It's open questions, but like the Sky, Simon, Ahmad, Ashraf, please feel free to share.
Shane, if I can comment, it's changing quickly, right? Early when we started back in, we're really late 2016, raising capital in 2017 and building in 2018. We were sort of alone. It was in early days. You know, Simon's company was also founded around that, if I remember, Simon 2018. But this wasn't a national level dialogue in the way it is now. In fact, it was even before there was a Ministry of Future Food Security in the UAE. However, the governments were already focused on these problems here in the UAE and Saudi and elsewhere. But I think that, of course, COVID has amplified that. I think people have seen how fragile supply chains can be, particularly in fresh, right? The humans are subsidizing the products in the bellies of the plane. And when you're relying on an air freight, particularly for goods that perish within kind of 2 to 14 days, you're fragile. And so I think the rate of change is accelerating. There's big dollars chasing the sector, led early on by the government and incentives and grants, things like the Abu Dhabi Investment Office. But now with institutional capital, right? And we've been beneficiaries of that with Sancta, Franklin Templeton, now IMM Investment, Shua Capital. And we're starting to see increasingly deep pockets target the sector and believe in the potential of the companies in the region, right? And I believe, as I double down on what Simon said, solutions for the world's harsh challenges are not going to come from New Jersey and San Francisco. They're going to come from operations and technologies formed, battle tested in the harsh environments they're intended to solve, right? And that's what our companies are doing. But I also think it's why global investors should be paying attention that it may or may not be the vertical farm out of some modern metropolitan technology market that solves the world's food security challenges. It might be in a more diverse market, battle tested in the deserts or in somewhere else in a tropical environment, and then brought to access food. Because I think we have huge addressable markets here, highly fragmented, lots of people, fast population growth. These are big problems, and I think the solutions are going to come out of these regions.
Thank you, Sky.
I think I completely agree with everything you said there, Sky. I think that the key thing as well is there's an increasing level of maturity about what the sector can and can't achieve. And I think COVID has definitely accelerated that. Can this region particularly become self-sufficient in some of the basic commodities? Well, that would cost an enormous amount to do and probably isn't the wisest thing to do where things can be stored for a long time. But can it really, and I guess that definition of food security away from just those basic commodities into fresher produce and into healthier lifestyles. And I think that COVID has accelerated that trend. And I think there is a real opportunity through innovation to increase the level of self-sufficiency. And I don't think that's going away. So I think that the sort of maturity of understanding what the sector can achieve is really supporting people to come in and invest into this sector.
Mm-hmm. Switching gears a little bit, what do we need more from the region? All right, so for us to flourish as an investors or entrepreneurs in this sector, what do you think we need more? We are developing and improving as an emerging market fast, but what can we do as a group and with hopefully with the audience what can we improve together? All right.
Shane, we were having this conversation before when we were all alone, but success begets success. We need more successes like what happened with Kareem, where people saw you can make significant returns investing in these uncharted waters. And I think also as entrepreneurs, we have a responsibility in the community to represent our companies accurately and fairly, as we secure capital, to take it very seriously and reward that capital. And again, these successes will draw success. Not to mention, you then create that ecosystem. I call it sending the elevator back down. But even us, right? We have 2 senior executives from Kareem hired into our company now in senior leadership positions, having built and scaled a company to tens of thousands of people, and now bringing the processes and knowledge and capability into our company. We just hired our 3rd actually this week, senior executive out of Kareem. And so, but then we need more of those. When we have success one day, which we hope, and Ahmad, I'll do my best to deliver, and to you, Shane. But I think that when we have that, some of us will spill out, the people in this, to go form new ventures and send that elevator back down. I think that's what'll drive it. But I think we need, high quality companies, high quality governance. There have been some very public abuses, and I think the media really likes to pick on these. I think there's even a session picking on NMC and Abraj, right, earlier in this conference. But these high profile failures are not representative of all of the companies here, right? There's great and professional companies, and it's a less competitive market where investors will have a lot of opportunities. So I think we need capital, but we need sophisticated capital to come here, get your boots on the ground, and find the great opportunities and join us and build something.
Absolutely.
Shane, if I may add to that, I think we are on the go to build more integrated models, more whether integrated across the value chain with your customers and with your suppliers, or integration between traditional business and new business, or business based on technology. There is no more, I think, just tech business. So you see, even Amazon has its own stores. So you are seeing more or less, you have more integration between the traditional business that we used to have and the new business. So more integration in that regard, I think, would be of help. And I think as well, if we are lucky with to hear good news from COP26, maybe we have more funding dedicated to sustainability and to invest in sustainability, especially in the early stage. So you may have co-investments from well-established investors as well.
Absolutely.
I think, Shane, perhaps the one thing I'd also add is around, I think, and myself and Sky are talking about this in a number of ways, but I think an ongoing sharing of the innovations that are coming out of the region is very supportive. And I think we talked a lot about that ecosystem, but I think the innovation shouldn't just benefit the sort of few. I think actually by sharing those innovations widely, it will generate an increasing culture of innovation. And I think that's not just a sort of one-off, here's a bit of technology, throw it over the wall, good luck with that. I think that's an ongoing support for those technology. It builds up the integrity of why that innovation works. And I think that will grow across different subsectors within the agri-tech sector as well. So, and we hope to see that continue over the next few years.
Homegrown solutions for homegrown problems, I guess.
Exactly.
Yes. And what I can quickly comment on is, like, I think a lot of us are expats with so much love and conviction in the region, and it actually took some time, people from the region to believe that they can solve this issue on their own. I think this is a very typical emerging market, let's say, issue, like we have seen in Asia, US, Southeast Asia, anywhere. You always, the people in the region, or people in each of those markets, actually take some more time to believe versus expats who see the opportunity come. And now we're seeing that the dynamic transition to see more homegrown entrepreneurs, homegrown, let's say, solutions, actually proving that we can do it. We don't have to rely on, let's say, just the solution that worked in Asia. Like, it doesn't actually work here. We actually have adapted, customized, well thought out entrepreneurs and solutions and companies, innovation, disrupting the local market. And this is the perfect time for us to invest, right, in the region, because when that happens, everything gets accelerated, right? And I believe we're still at the second inning of that, to see that growth. I know we are almost out of time, or if not out of time. Unfortunately, we didn't have too much time to go through the questions, but really enjoyed the panel, and hope everyone really enjoyed learning and sharing these thoughts.